Hello everyone, welcome to the Armageddon Championship Series 2023. The chess show with more sting than the most deadliest scorpion's tail. And that's one hell of a sting. We're happy to broadcast live from Berlin. I'm Grandmaster Simon Williams, and I'm here with my good friend and brilliant colleague, International Master Jovanka Houska.
Thank you, Simon. Pleasure to be here. And haven't we been entertained by what's been happening? It's day 4, the last qualifier, European and Africa. And yesterday, it was entertaining and emotional at the same time. We saw a heartbreaking Armageddon. So let's take a look at what happened yesterday.
Day 3 kicked off with the experienced Michael Adams facing off against Alexander Donchenko. The first game was wild, but just when it looked like Adams was gaining the upper hand, he blundered a rook and the game. Game 2 started with Donchenko playing very solidly, but he allowed Adams to get an in-game initiative to get that comeback victory. This meant that the match had to be decided by Armageddon, and in a roller coaster of a game, Donchenko was that little bit faster on the clock.
The second match of the day saw Matthias Bluebaum versus Jorden Van Foreest. In a very anticipated match, Matthias looked like he was doing extremely well in the first game, but he lost with a devastating blunder. You could see the emotions on his face. This emotion carried on into the second round, where he got a good position, but he couldn't handle Jorden's stubborn defense. Jorden going through to the next round.
This is Armageddon Championship Series 2023, the ultimate chess showdown of the year. The first 3 tournaments have already finished, the Americas with finalists Wesley So and Sam Shankland, Asia and Oceania with winners Nordibek Abdusattorov and Gukash, and a special qualifying stage, Women's Week, where Bibisara Asalbaeva and Humpy Kaneru showed their best. And this week, our 4th tournament, Europe and Africa Regional Series.
8 of the strongest players compete for a spot in the grand final with a chance to win the Armageddon Championship. All our events are broadcast live from the World Chess Club Berlin on Unter den Linden. This is make or break. Who will make the cut and go through? Don't go anywhere. This is Armageddon. So our last event before the grand final, where 2 players here will go forward to that competition. It's very exciting. We had our first knockouts yesterday. You can see them in grey, and Mickey Adams and Matthias Bluebaum have left the building. But there's still lots of strong players there.
I know, and really is the who's who of European chess. You know, we have so many people, over 2,700 in the competition. Jan-Krzysztof Duda, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, Rapport, as long as Vincent Keymer, 18 years old. And, well, we're in for a treat.
Certainly.
And of course, we do have to mention our partners. As a technology and digital privacy company, Kaspersky supports the secure advancement of chess in the digital space and its expansion into online tournaments. A perfect combination of human excellence and strong technology.
And now we should just take a look at the current situation in this very exciting, revolutionary tournament. And we can see here that the games today are from the upper bracket. So every player playing today started with a victory. So they're on a good roll, and we have some fantastic lineups ready for you to view.
And we're getting close to the start, so let's have a look at the 2 encounters we'll be seeing today. Jan-Krzysztof Duda against Vincent Keymer, and then Rapport against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. This is mouth-watering stuff. And let's take a deep dive into the first matchup.
Yes, in the first match we have Jan-Krzysztof Duda versus Vincent Keymer. And these 2 have actually played 5 games before, and you may be a bit surprised to know that Vincent has the upper hand with a 3-1 lead, because Vincent is the lower rated and younger player.
And let's have a look at some of Jan-Krzysztof Duda's most impressive achievements. A grandmaster at 15 years old. He's in the top 10 with that massive blitz rating of 27.83, and also World Cup winner of 2021. And that actually earned him the recipient of the Polish Gold Cross of Merit, the highest civilian award in Poland as well. He's winner of the 2021 European Blitz Chess Championship. Let's hear more from Jan-Krzysztof in his own words.
Sometimes I'm very aggressive, but sometimes not that much. I mean, it's related to my mood and to the situation on the board. I often don't understand my way of thinking, and I think it's great because if I can't get it, then nobody else can. I think I'm very stubborn while playing chess. In general, I have a very strong sense of reliability in basically anything I do. You know, even if I play, I don't know, tennis or like whatever game, then I always want to win. And I think it's like my big practical skill is the biggest one in chess. And I'm also kind of lucky. It's actually a very good thing for me that I'm only good in chess, you know. Because if you are good in many things, then you struggle. Like you don't know what you want to do. But if you are good in only one thing, as I am, it's a very easy choice.
Yeah, great player is Jan-Krzysztof Duda, but his opponent is also a fantastic player, and here he is, Vincent Keymer, who is a prodigy. He's a grandmaster at the age of 14. He's only 18 years old, and he's already Germany's strongest player at that tender age. He's come second in some brilliantly high and tough tournaments, the World Rapport Championships and the European Championships. Let's hear a bit more about Vincent in his own words.
I have a rather strategical kind of style, I would say, from my childhood, which now changed a bit since when you improve your chess and you get to a higher level, I think you need to become much more of an all-rounder. You can't really accept to have some kind of strengths or weaknesses, which is why I, of course, also try to, get good in everything, but I think that's kind of where I came from. If you have a tournament that's coming up rather soon, you will try to relax, then of course there are some preparation, some training camps, whatever. There are a lot of chess tournaments, which means that you need some relaxation time, spend some time apart from everything with chess, meaning cycling, meeting with friends, something like that. I can stay calm in rather difficult situations, which can be very important for chess, as well as being able to probably push the limits, because you need to work really a lot, and you also need to give you everything during tournaments, sometimes even more than you might think you can, and that's something I think really helps me.
Yeah, and we are moments away from the start of the first game, and let's take a look at the rules. The players will be playing 2 games of blitz at a time control of 3 minutes plus 2 seconds. And if the match is still tied after these 2 games, well, it will be decided by the crowd favorite,
Armageddon. And Armageddon is very exciting. It is the last game you can have because there has to be someone who progresses, and white gets 5 minutes, black gets 4 minutes, but white has to win that matchup. Another important person is the arbiter, and that is Anastasia Sorokina, and she keeps an eye on everything that happens just to make sure there's no funny business going on. 10 seconds away from the start between these 2 great players, and we see that Jan-Krzysztof Duda has the white pieces in this first game, and they're off.
They are off, and there we see Jan-Krzysztof opening with an English.
We've seen a lot of English openings so far, and maybe this is honor of the English commentators, who knows. And a variation here which is reasonably popular, black making some early exchanges to try and equalize the position. Normally at the start of the game, white's trying to get a small advantage because you've got the edge of having the first move, and black is trying to get equality. Both heart rates seem to have calmed down since their first match as well, and they don't look too high to my eyes at the moment.
No, they're certainly not high. In fact, when they are high, the heart rates will be flashing red, and we will get a direct insight into how they are feeling. It was interesting in the run-up that Vincent Keymer said that one of his special skills is the ability to remain calm under pressure. well, we'll put those words to the test here.
We certainly will, and he's got to remain calm under pressure. And they're both moving pretty quickly. This is the start of the game, the opening stage, and you might prefer white slightly here. I would, because of the two bishops. A bishop is supposed to be a little bit more useful than the knight. White's got two bishops, black's got a knight there. That is in a general sense, especially if the position opens up. So if pawns get exchanged, we have open lines. The bishop is a long-range piece, so it'll really work well. And I like this move. Vincent is aiming to exchange off one of the bishops, but what's happening here after bishop takes pawn?
It came at some cost, because there we saw Jan-Krzysztof nab a pawn, and well, Vincent says I can do the same thing as well, and now both bishops are attacking the rooks, and we see Jan-Krzysztof move his rook to attack the bishop, and it's a game of copycat, because there we see Vincent do exactly the same. And I completely agree with you. I think the position still very much favors white, because white is the only one that can actually open up the position. He holds the key to that lock.
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, we mentioned that white wants to exchange pawns off, and he's already exchanged one pair off. He's going for another exchange. Why does white want to exchange pawns off? Well, it's a positional idea to improve those bishops. And I also like this massive pawns white has on the left-hand side and the open rook. So I would say a slight advantage to white, but black is fairly solid here as well.
Yeah, black doesn't have any immediate pawn weaknesses on the board, but white sure does have the active pieces. And now we saw a rook just go all the way down to the 7th row, and Vincent really wants to trade off bishops. And Jan-Krzysztof saying no.
That's right, the bishop stays on the board, and now black's rook comes over and defends that pawn, so black is a little bit on the defensive now. You can see that white has the time advantage. In Armageddon, the time is such an important factor of the competition. And I like this move, Vincent bringing his queen nearer to black's king. The evaluation bar still very much likes white, that's the bar on the right-hand side, but there's a lot of pieces sort of drawing around the white king like a swarm of bees there, trying to sting away at that position. And Vincent's heart rate gone up into the red zone there. What does white do? He has to do a bit of defensive moves.
Yeah, it's time for some family time, as they say in football. When it comes to defending, you've got to stick together like a family. When you're attacking, it's party time. And well, talking about party time, there is a nice queen move from Vincent, and he is threatening actually to bring his knight forward to the g4 square and start targeting white's h-pawn.
Very aggressive play from Vincent. If he gets his knight towards the white king on the next move, that swarm of bees is ready to strike a deadly sting. So Jan-Krzysztof has to be a little bit careful here. The king is your most precious piece. When your opponent brings pieces towards your king, have the alarm bells and get them ringing. He hasn't done anything about it.
He don't care. He simply doesn't care. I mean, he's just saying, look, come at me. Give it your best shot. And he's banking on the fact that black's pieces might get in each other's way. And they are, after all attacking on the light square color complex. And there, Duda is well equipped to meet that.
So what's he going to do? Well, he's actually moved his bishop back, and this is another quite clever idea. Maybe that bishop's going to move in on the other side of white's pawn and try to exchange off the bishop there.
But it's time to blast open the center, isn't it, Simon?
Definitely, yeah. I think, you can see white's bishop on the left-hand side on the dart squares. There's one black pawn, which is like a wall. It's blocking that bishop. So I think white wants to get rid of that pawn, right?
Get the bulldozer out, pick up the f-pawn, lift it 2 squares. Challenge accepted. But there we see Jan-Krzysztof. He's taking a pause. He is now ticking under the 1 minute mark. I mean, it's always a good idea. Okay, so he doesn't pick up the f-pawn. Instead, he uses the d-pawn as a battering ram. Also, excellent stuff there.
Yeah, still the same idea. The bishop, which is backing that pawn up, is trying to get a better range. So again, if you think of a sniper, if there's a wall in the way, you get rid of the wall. And that's exactly what that bishop is trying to do. And that pawn, get rid of the black pawn in the middle. They're both now under a minute in time, and when we had Jan-Krzysztof in the studio the other day, he mentioned he loves playing with only 10 seconds or less. Well, I'm not sure he said he loves playing with 10 seconds left, but he says he often plays with hardly any time on his clock. And let's remember, they do get a little bit of extra time every time they play a move in this part of the competition. Vincent, though, tanking a lot of time, going to half a minute.
Yeah, what's he gonna do? Okay, he exchanges pawns, and White's objective has been completed. The bishop now has a beautiful long diagonal to attack, and first point of call is gonna attack the knight. Oh, and we see Vincent now 20 seconds, and his heart rate is going up to 126. It's in the danger zone. Oh, and he takes a step back, and when you go back, White should go forward.
Well, I think White should use a pawn to really restrict that knight, and one thing that Vincent's got to do now is move it. How does the song go? I like to move it.
Okay.
And he comes with the bishop, though. Not a bad move there.
Not a bad move, but unfortunately, it's not just about a good bishop. I mean, White's pieces are so well placed. I mean, take a look at this rook on e1, which can... he's picked it up and he's put it on the 7th row. That's what I wanted.
Put that in your position, young Vincent. The rook flies into the position, and getting 2 rooks on the 7th rank is very dangerous. Vincent tries to bring his knight back to defend, but it's looking like White has all the pressure at the moment. Now, though, they're both under 10 seconds. And we see Duda winning a pawn, taking a pawn there. He goes a pawn up, but Vincent now trying to counterattack. The knight flies in. Can Black get any counterplay in this position? Vincent, 3 seconds on his clock there. That pawn looks like a queen to me.
It is a killer queen, and there you can see the bishop just retreating, and clinical play from Jan-Krzysztof Duda. He's saying trade of queens.
That queen nearly came off the board there. Where is that queen? Is it off the board or on the board? Well, Black moving all of his pieces back to the 1st rank, and this looks like the end to me. The white pawn is just too strong here. He's moved it, and what a move that was, and there's nothing Black can do here. Black resigns. That pawn was gonna become a queen, and the Duda abides.
Certainly very impressive game from Jan-Krzysztof there. From start to finish, I mean, he was relentless. He simply didn't give Vincent Keymer a chance. And, well, Vincent Keymer now in a must-win situation with the white pieces in the next game.
That's right. That was actually a very smooth game by Duda there. It seemed like he controlled the position. He got a small advantage, and Vincent never really had anything to do there. He just got forced backwards. White came forwards with the rooks. The rooks were fantastic, and we should have a look at some of the highlights from the match there. Well, around here we had some pawns being exchanged, Jovanka.
And maybe this was the start of a bad plan from Vincent, because we saw Duda, you know, he just simply captured a pawn, and after those trades, White was left with a fantastic position.
That's right, because White's bishops really started to play, and look at those rooks. Those rooks were just infiltrating into Black's position, causing a lot of problems on what we call the 7th rank there. Also, I love White's bishop. That bishop was always a problem throughout the game in the middle of the board. So White just played very, very well, and he's going to be a hard Duda to beat, playing like that, isn't he?
Certainly is. I mean, and here it comes again. Again, relentless, and he's offering a trade of queens, and there you see him capture. And this is a neat point that actually he doesn't move his rook. He simply advances that killer B pawn, and handshake from Vincent. And Vincent will not have much time to recover. I mean, now we are less than 1 minute from the start of play, and Vincent Keymer now in a must-win situation.
That's right.
He can do it.
Yeah, he can do it. Will he do it? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that's the excitement. There's no time to get a breather here. They're straight back in to the second game. And Vincent has the advantage of the white pieces. And as we know, he needs to win to bring it to Armageddon. And there we go. Look at that sea of blue there. Very calming before the storm happens. And it's only going to be a big storm in this game. I reckon Vincent's heart rate's going to be a bit higher. But let's remember, the loser doesn't go home quite yet. He'll just drop down. It's a double elimination, so they get a second chance in this competition. If they lose one game, they still can go on in the competition. But we're 4, 3, 2, 1. And what is Vincent gonna do here? I expect he's gonna push his queen's pawn. He does. He loves pushing the queen's pawn.
He does. He's certainly got his openings well worked out. And, well, he's played an opening called the Queen's Gambit, and, well, that gambit was accepted.
Yeah, I expect a lot of people at home will know the Queen's Gambit from the fantastic TV series out there. And so far, they're following very established moves here. As you got to at this level, you got to know your openings. You got to know how you should get into the battle. If you don't, you could put all your forces all over the shop on bad squares. This is Black's idea. Black gains space on the side of the board, but White gains space in the center. And those white pawns in the center can be very dangerous. And this is actually a risky opening for Duda to pick because he only needs a draw. And it's extremely sharp, extremely tactical. So he's going for, I would say, a bit too of a risky approach here in the match situation.
Well, they do say that when you need a draw, it's best not to play solidly. It's just good to actually play in a very normal way. And, well, talking about aggression, there we see Vincent not capturing back that pawn, but instead going on the counterattack. And, well, we will see what happens. But okay, it seems to be a game of counterattacks because now the knight is actually not moving, but counterattacking the bishop.
Very complicated position now because the pawn can capture the knight. Okay, White just retreats his bishop, which was attacked. Black retreats his knight, which is attacked. Black temporarily is a pawn up, but look at the king's safety. This is a very important factor of this position. White's king has 3 bodyguards. Black's king stuck in the middle of the board, and Vincent throws his bishop out to attack the queen. Looks quite dangerous of Black here. The evaluation bar is heartless. It still thinks that Black is fine, but I'm not so sure. There's some dangerous ideas here for White.
There certainly is some danger in the position. And the question is, what is White going to do? I mean, obviously, the knight in the middle is attacked. So I'm predicting that that knight will actually step back to the g3 square, whereupon it will try to reroute itself to more aggressive postures. But this is something that will cost a pawn. And remember, Vincent is in a must-win situation. He can also make moves like knight takes knight, but that isn't going to be maintaining the initiative.
Yeah, another move that Vincent can have because there's 2 black pieces attacking the white knight in the middle of the board. You'd love to keep your knights in the center, but Vincent can't do that here. That white knight is attacked by the bishop and the knight. I like this move. He's getting his rook into the game, and now that bishop is kicked back. Black is doing very well here, except for that one thing that he hasn't castled. He hasn't got his king completely safe. Maybe Black doesn't need to worry about that for the time being, but at some point, it could be an issue for Duda.
But he is certainly thinking about it. And take a look at that. Jan-Krzysztof Duda has a healthy 1 minute advantage. And wow.
Ooh, look at the evaluation bar.
I know, I saw it.
Ooh.
You know, suddenly there's a lot of advantage for Black.
There is. The evaluation bar is suddenly jumping really in Jan-Krzysztof's favor here. I'm not sure what the idea is. Maybe he can bring his only undeveloped piece, the bishop, into the game. No, he moves his rook up. That's a very aggressive move as well, attacking the knight in the center, but also x-raying both of White's bishops. I love that move. I didn't see that move. White's pieces are very fragile there in the middle. And can White even save a piece here? Because if he moves the knight, Black takes the bishop, and you can't lose a piece at this stage of the game. It's weird that Black hasn't castled, but is doing so well. And Duda's heart rate creeps up into the red, maybe realizing there, he's got a great chance to go through to the next round.
Yeah, and he's doing it in a very clinical way. I mean, like you say, there's no great way to untangle those two pieces in the middle of the board. I mean, if you go bishop takes bishop, then simply black will play rook to okay. But now you'll see that black will not go queen takes bishop, but instead could even play rook takes knight, attacking the queen. And fancy stuff from Vincent. Threatening checkmate there with the rook. But Duda, he had it all worked out.
Very sharp play from Duda. Absolutely fearless play. He only needs a draw, and he's playing like an absolute lunatic. The guy is a madman. He's leaving his king in the middle, breaking all the rules. He's throwing pawns up the board, and he's just fearless. I would be so scared to play this way, but the problem that white has is that he's got so many pieces attacked, and black can take that bishop now. The problem is that black king, it could still be an issue. The white rook is threatening to come down and give it a big check. Here, it doesn't come in. It attacks the queen first. Quite a crafty move, that one.
Is it?
Because if the queen takes the bishop, then you take the pawn with check.
Yeah.
But look at the evaluation bar, totally in black's favor. There must be a winning move here. I wish I was stronger.
Knight takes pawn.
Knight takes pawn. Very good, Jovanka. That looks like a very strong move. The knight can counterattack black's queen. It kind of seems like you have to move the queen because the rook's attacking the queen. He didn't see it.
No, but this is also great because look at it. He's attacking the rook on e1 and checkmate is looming. And there you see Vincent. He sits up and, okay, he defends his rook, but he knows his position is falling apart. He's material down and the queens are gonna come off.
And if the queens come off, that is only bad news because when you're material up, you want to swap pieces off. White's one chance was to keep the queen on the board and attack black's king. Now black is getting ready to castle as well. He might even castle his king, and he does at last. It's taken a long time to do it, but he's got it safe. The time situation, Vincent, under 10 seconds.
Under 10 seconds. I mean, he only has one hope in the position, and that's got those two pawns there on the left. You know, get them rolling and hope for the best. Praying is not a good plan, but sometimes it's the only plan.
Sometimes you just got to pray when there's nothing else that's working, and he's got to roll those pawns down the board, rolling.
Like a river.
Like a river of pawns, but they're not that scary, the white pawns. And at the end of the day, black has an extra piece, and now the knight comes in at the end of the game, forking the king and the rook there, attacking two pieces in one move. Very smooth victory by Duda.
I know.
Really smooth.
Duda woke up in beast mode. I mean, that was just effective and clinical. And there we saw Jan-Krzysztof Duda easily progress to the next stage by dispatching Vincent Keymer 2-0.
Yeah, he played so well in both of those games. He was just dominant. The first game very smooth, and in that last game he just played without fear. I'd be too scared to play that way because he was just throwing all the pieces forwards but leaving his king in the middle. You shouldn't play like that at home. You should get your king safe. Only brilliant players can break the rules. And you see around here Duda just playing so calmly. I think it's that clever thing about chess or anything you get good at, that the only time you break the rules is when you completely understand the rules. You can't break the rules if you're a beginner because it will go horribly wrong. You have to really master everything until you can go outside the box and do something a bit different, and that's really what Duda did in this game.
Yeah.
The black king, the bishop and the rook, they just stayed there, and he used all his other pieces. It seemed remarkable that this idea worked.
I know, and take a look at this moment when Duda just actually puts his rook down on the fourth row, notices that there's a lot of congestion for the white pieces, and uses his tactical skills to great effect. And here, you know, again, it looks scary. You know, white's pieces are really menacing, but Duda, he's got it all worked out. He's just like, okay, you know what, I will just force a queen trade, and everything is great.
That's right, and as soon as the queens came off, it looked very one way. Well, it's one way, a lot of it really, but that extra piece coming in, and the final little tactic here was the black pawn marches down to create a square for the knight. The knight now comes in. It couldn't come there before because there was a pawn defending that square, and that finished that match off. So we now have an interview with the loser, so we'll go over there first.
We're here with Vincent Keymer. Vincent, you just lost a tough match. How do you feel?
Well, not too good, but I think he also played very well in the match, at least from how I can judge it. I mean, the first game was, I think, a quite big fight, and I felt like, of course, I have this weak c7 pawn, but I had some counterplay, and then, just when we got very low on time, it went wrong for me. And the second game, it was very complicated, but I missed this rook c4 move, and I think that there was, it looked very dangerous, of course, but I didn't see anything, and then, being a piece down, you need some concrete compensation, of course.
Any more key moments from the game?
Yeah, I think in the second game somewhere, I'm not sure about any of my opening moves. Probably bishop b3 was better than bishop d3 and so on. It felt like what he did was maybe a bit too dangerous, but the way I played, I certainly didn't punish it.
Okay, maybe we just switch the topic a little bit. When you were younger, you played piano. Do you still play it sometimes?
Yeah, I try to, because I still very much like it, but of course, being a chess professional, there's not much time left.
You had 2 rest days. What did you do in these days?
Yeah, not much actually. I took a rest, relaxed a bit. I of course also prepared, meaning specifically for the games, but also just in general doing some tactics and so on. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. You're still in the tournament, so best of luck. And now we go back to the studio to Simon and Jovanka.
Thank you, Sonia. And it's a great pleasure to have Jan-Krzysztof Duda here with us in the studio, who just defeated Vincent Keymer. And I have to say, you made it look easy.
Thank you.
So talk us
the match, of course, wasn't that easy. But once you win the first game, it's the pressure is on an opponent, and and therefore he, of course, tried to strike back in the second game, but I think, or I hope, I had everything under control.
And then talk us through the first game, because that looked quite even. You're both playing very quickly, and then suddenly you were better.
Yes, my opponent must have expected the English opening, because he varied with this knight d4 move, which I didn't quite remember, to be honest. But on the other hand, the positions are so slow after that you can do whatever you want, basically, with white. And I thought I had some pressure, actually, because after rook a7, I thought his 7 pawn is kind of vulnerable in the long run, but he always had, these tricks around my king, and he was, of course, going to try right square bishops, and then, the pony can be dangerous at times. So, but once I played d4, I thought it's, it's very, very safe for me. There is no attack whatsoever for him, and I'm pressing. So, and then we were both low on time, but my position was much easier to play. So, so I converted it.
Yeah.
And the heart rates, it seemed to be pretty much lower this time, but it got up to 1-4-1 there, so it's not too bad. And,
did you feel stressed at any time?
Yeah, a little bit. Of course, there is tension, and I'm actually kind of surprised that it's so low. I think because in general, my pulse is getting high very quickly in no time. One can say so, but I haven't, measured it during playing a chess game. So 141 isn't that bad, I think.
And what about the second game as well? Because that was very exciting. I mean, you left your king in the middle there, and we thought that was quite risky, but it seemed to work out just perfectly.
Yes, first of all, I was very. I had prepared this QGA. It's my, I think, second time in, over the board game that I played it. So it must have been a surprise for him. But at the same time, it's very solid for black, of course. So it made perfect sense. And actually, I was kind of very angry on myself because after d4 I played, a tempo knight f6, and of course d5 and d takes d4 was the idea. Yeah. But luckily he played knight f3 in the second move, and in transposed, because after c4, I would have to play something else. And,
so you kind of blundered on move one, but he didn't pick up the blunder.
Yeah. No, it was, just instinct. Yeah, I mean, I have played like, I don't know, a billion times. Yeah, this knight f6, of course. So, and after that, I mean, after bishop d3, I was on my own, but I thought it's, it must be good for black. And then, I think he blundered actually this rook c4 tactics. And but it wasn't easy, I mean, to judge, because he's losing the piece, but he has some attack, and it's you never know in such cases what's going on. But but I did it also partially. First of all, I have considered it to be like the most principal, and I didn't see refutation of it. But secondly, I was ahead on the clock, so I thought, it's like I put an onus on him and he has to show something immediately, because otherwise the match is over. And he didn't quite show the follow-up. I'm not sure, maybe knight takes e6 was a better try after rook c4, but then I assumed just bishop takes e4, and I don't know what's going on, but I am piece up. So and in the game I think especially after queen e3, he must have blundered queen d2, and it was game over, basically.
Good practical decision in the end. And looking ahead at the brackets, you'll be facing the winner between Richard Rapport and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Obviously, you've played both these players. I mean, who do you prefer to be playing in terms of like style?
I'm not sure. They're both crazy players, so and of course very strong. Maybe I would slightly prefer to play Rapport, but he's of course extremely strong, and it's like, I've played him this year even at 2 games in Blitz, so it was 1-1. We both won our games with whites. So, but usually there are some very, very crazy games I'm having against him in Blitz especially. So, that would be cool.
You like crazy games?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice, but of course, MVL also is of course a very aggressive player and very sharp. So we can, some mess can also be expected in that case. So I'm really looking forward to playing this case.
So I think we're guaranteed an exciting match in the next one, but you're doing well so far, so congratulations, and we'll just have a look at some highlights now and get back to the tournament.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Time to mention our partners, the FIDE Online Arena, which hosts rated tournaments and games 24 hours per day. Join the arena and you'll get a FIDE ID, profile on FIDE.com, access to pro chess community, official online ratings and titles, all recognized by the International Chess Federation, prize money tournaments, and so much more. So play official games at chessarena.com.
Yeah, and we're going to get to our second match of the day very shortly. And what a match this is going to be. We have Richard Rapport versus Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, both over 2,700. Now, the score between these two does favour Maxime, who has an 8-win advantage over 3 wins for Richard. But you never know. It's Armageddon, and expect the unexpected. So it's going to be one hell of a match. Let's have a look at the players in more detail.
And there we see the stats for Richard Rapport. 27 years old, born in Hungary, now represents Romania. Became a grandmaster at 13 years old, the youngest person in Hungary ever to do so. He's been the winner of the 2013 European Rapid Chess Championship, also has a very high blitz rating of 2707, and very recently seconded Ding Liren, the current FIDE World Chess Champion. So let's hear more from Richard himself.
I am reasonably happy, and I believe, okay, maybe it sounds bad, but usually I'm quite unhappy when I'm playing tournaments, and I'm quite happy when I'm home.
So I believe I'm balancing it quite well. Chess is kind of a mini model of life in many ways. You need to make decisions in life, and chess is a game of decisions. Chess is also a game of arguments, as if, if I have a plan, I have an idea of something, and then I'm trying to convince my opponent that this is a good idea. And he might say, okay, I don't believe you, so you can finish your plan, or he might try to prevent my plan. The only thing which I really appreciate about being a professional chess player is that I don't have, this 9-to-5 jobs and such commitments. Unless I'm on tournaments, I have the freedom to organize my schedule however I please, so that I'm always free to, find my own.
Certainly one of the coolest grandmasters around, and I hope when he was crossing that road he looked for traffic, because it looked pretty dangerous there actually, but I'm sure he could see out of his sunglasses. And his opponent is the extremely brilliant Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, who grandmaster at 14 years old and was the winner of the World Blitz Championships only a couple of years ago now. So he's a really good, tactical and strong opponent. And let's hear from Maxime a bit more about himself.
I'm quite an intuitive player, but at the same time I rely a lot on calculation. I know what I want to achieve, but still every move I cannot prevent myself from calculating once and once more every possibility I can think of. I'm also more of a practical player, I would say, so I enjoy much more playing on the chessboard than actually doing the studying parts, but of course it's necessary. I think what helps me the most is the resilience. So sometimes I'm done in chess or even in life, but whenever I feel done, I will find the strength to come back and to fight once more.
Yeah, he's a great player, isn't he?
He is a fantastic player, and they're, such an impressive set of skills that both players will actually have to depend upon, because we are less than 1 minute away from the start of the second match, and this one is just too close to call. We have Rapport, who is our maverick, against an intuitive calculator, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, and they are also phenomenal blitz players, and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave is in the top 20 when it comes to blitz ratings.
He is, yeah. I mean, this is going to be one hell of a match. I mean, as you mentioned, Ricard is known for his maverick kind of play. He's someone who creates stuff rather than follows stuff, but MVL is a calculating beast. I love the way he's cleaning the board. I don't know if they dropped some mud in the board in the middle of the competition there or something, but he gave it a good clean there.
Okay, so we have the first move. He's pushing with the king's pawn, but Simon, I just wanted to indicate, look at the way the players have just put their knights. Maxime, knights are facing forward.
I like my knights facing forwards, but Ricard likes his knights facing sideways. Are you a forwards girl or a sideways girl? You're a forwards girl.
And in the meantime, we have seen Maxime Vachier-Lagrave break through in the center.
And a bit of a surprise, I would say, from Ricard, the way he's played this opening. I quite like it. And again, just look at the king safety here. The black king has a lot of pieces before it can castle the same way the white king goes. It's going to take 3 moves. If black can do that, I think he'll be doing absolutely fine. But can white use the safety of his king to create some problems here? Okay, we have some exchanges in the middle of the board, and this could lead to a queen exchange, which I think would help Maxime, because if the queen's come off, his king will immediately be in less danger. But he's now having his first think, so I would say the opening battle gone Ricard's way, just on the time. Ricard's up on time and Maxime is spending time. This would kind of indicate that maybe Maxime has been surprised somewhere in the start of the game here. He's normally so well prepared, isn't he, as well, Jovanka?
He is. He absolutely is completely well prepared. I mean, he has a lot of unusual ideas that have been well worked out. Don't be fooled by his interviews where he says, no, I didn't look at this, I was freestyling. No, there's a lot of hard work behind Rapport. That's why he was chosen as a second for the now world champion, Ding Loran.
and he always comes out with such interesting ideas. And this move, very interesting. The queen comes out, maybe supporting the white knight to come to b5, come over to the left-hand side. That seems like a nasty idea. For example, if black now moved the bishop, which black would like to do to get castled, the white knight could cause a lot of troubles there. Also, the queen vacates the square it's just come from for a white rook. If the white rook can come to that square or line up against black's queen, so there's a little bit of pressure here on Maxime's position. And Maxime doesn't normally play this slowly. I was actually watching him yesterday play what we call bullet chess, 1 minute chess against Jorden Van Foreest, and they were playing so quickly it was a blur to me. This seems like a good idea, aiming to get the queens off and just relieve a bit of the tension in the position.
And the queens are off, and like you say, that will come as a huge relief to Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. But what is not going to be pleasant is, of course, the clock times. I mean, Richard Rapport has... Okay, and he's also grabbed a pawn there from the a7 square.
So Maxime decides to sacrifice a pawn just so he can complete his development and get his king safe. So Richard has gone a pawn up. He centralizes his bishop.
But is there some ideas? We just saw a pause. Is there some knight coming in? And there was.
Wow.
I think Richard saw that at the last minute and then decided, okay, it's okay.
Okay, is it okay? What a move from Maxime. That knight jumping in. You might be thinking, why can't you take the knight? Because of the black rook. So it does seem like Richard had this under control. And now black has this nice bishop. The white knight comes back, threatening a big check. Look where that knight can go. It can go and fork the king and the rook. So black castles his king. Maxime's got to pick up the pace here, though. He's very much down on time, and he is down a pawn as well. It looks like a safe pawn to me. I feel like white has played brilliantly so far, getting an extra pawn in a safe position here.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, but these two are tactical just amazeballs. I mean, they're just complete wizards at that game. And be careful, you have to bring your tactical A game when you're facing Maxime. And there we see a trade of rooks, but it looks like Richard has everything under control.
Except his heart rate.
Yeah,
Richard's got everything under control, but he's nearly double the heart rate of Maxime there. He did mention he gets quite nervous, understandably. He doesn't really show it, but he is a pawn up here. Maybe he's getting excited, Jovanka, about this great position he has.
I think so. I mean, often you do get nervous when you start to smell victory. And, well, the kings are coming in, but white completely dominating in the position and also dominating on the clock as well. It's very difficult to come up with a good plan of attack for, no, rather defense for Maxime.
Well, Maxime trying to get to what we call a pure rook ending by exchanging off the last pieces, and this will give Maxime great drawing chances. There is a saying in chess that all rook and pawn endings, so that's when there's only rooks and pawns left, are draws, because the probability of it being a draw, even if you're a pawn up, is very high. Hence why Richard has kept the knights on the board. That knight now diving in, but now black wins a pawn with check there. So he's got his pawn back, but white retains some pressure here.
Yeah, definitely some pressure, because white's knight is better placed and is also targeting the b7 pawn. So Richard has to find a way to preserve those two pawns on the left and at the same time maintain that pressure against that weak pawn on b7. And there you see Richard simply holding tight. And now, yep, he's gonna attack black's knight, and well, Maxime is so quick.
Yeah, Maxime diving in there, and he has now got material equality, which would indicate it's nearer a draw. But look at white's pawns. White's pawns are just creeping up the board, creepy crawlies, and if they creep all the way to the other end, it's touchdown and they become queens. And if one of those pawns touches down, it is going to end the game. So that's the one major problem that black has here. Now there's a little tactic here. If you go knight takes pawn, black can go check with the knight and take a white pawn. So maybe you move the king in here. The king is a very important piece. There it goes in the ending, just avoiding any checks for that move.
And well, Maxime, he's a tricky customer. He's getting ready to pick up the b pawn, move it one square, destabilizing the knight. He doesn't have too much choice. And there we see Richard with a knight check. And well, maybe the knights will leave the board, but nope. And wow.
Very clever move there from Maxime. He moves his knight back to attack white's pawn, and white can't defend that pawn. He can only move his king up the board, and this means again it goes back to material equality. So it's looking like a great defensive job so far from Maxime Vachier-Lagrave with the black pieces. Still a bit of danger as white has the passed pawn. That means a pawn that is unobstructed and can become a queen, but I think everything's okay at the moment.
Well, it might be okay on the board, but it's certainly not okay on the clock, because Maxime, take a look, only 6 seconds. Can he hold his nerves? Remember, the players do get a 2-second increment, so what you see on the clock is not necessarily what you get, but still, Maxime has to be one cool customer.
He does, and he's got now Richard trying to use his king to get into the position. Richard needs to get his knight to another side of the board, and here it comes. The white knight heads over to a better position, and he's got to try to target black's pawns with that knight. And look at the time, but he's so quick. He's not going to lose on time. He won't lose on time.
He's looking, he's cutting it short. It's 1 second. Oh, he lost on time.
Oh, well, there you go. So as soon as I say he won't lose on time, he loses on time.
It was the final
Maxime,
countdown.
Listen, the final countdown. Come on, Jovanka, it's your time to sing.
Oh my goodness me. Richard Rapport, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. What a roller coaster. I mean, we saw everything there. Richard, very impressive in the opening. And then somehow he lost his way, and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave was able just to hold his resources together. But in the end, tick tock, you know, you got to remember that. Am I being cruel?
No, not at all. I just want to hear you sing. And we have, I think perfect. There we go. Just a little boogie. And quite amazing end to that game, actually. I mean, Maxime's going to be kicking himself. It got interesting around here where Richard won a pawn, and his opening worked perfectly. He gets this extra pawn. He's got to avoid some tactics, and it got a little bit messy, but he did manage to consolidate that extra pawn advantage for a long time. And we can have a look at another stage here where now black is still a pawn down, but he is able to complicate matters and activate his rook here. So things around there starting to get a bit better for Maxime. I still can't believe he lost on time. As soon as I say he's not going to lose on time, it's typical. Yeah. And you can see white dive in here, but great defensive play from black with this move here.
Yeah, some excellent defensive play from Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, and he really did manage to level the game position, but unfortunately it was the clock. I mean, we did say it was going to be a problem when you leave yourself with that little time, and 2-second increment is not that much when you think about it. And here it comes, 3, and he somehow or other he froze.
It's unbelievable.
Here
I mean,
it is.
At this level, you just don't freeze. I mean, you know, it is commentators' curse. You say one thing and the opposite happens. I've never seen Maxime lose on time, so that's why I was so shocked. But okay, long to go before we kick off there. He's got to win with white. He's got to put the pressure on, and he's very dangerous with the white pieces. So there is a chance we will get an Armageddon today, I think.
Yeah, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave is the kind of player who can blast anyone off the board. And Richard Rapport, well, he did win the first game, so he is looking at ways where he can just be solid and neutralize Maxime's aggression.
And we have 11 seconds until the start, so White must win. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave must win this game to take it to Armageddon. If it's a draw, or if Ricard can hold it and draw or win, then he goes through. So they are off, and we see Maxime's favorite move, the king's pawn, and now Ricard going for quite a dangerous opening, giving space away immediately here.
But he's done this before. He did this in his first game, and there it was very successful against Van Foreest. It's not going to come as a surprise, right, to Maxime.
Yep, I mean, it's not got a good reputation, the opening that Black is playing, because if you look at Black's pieces, they've only gone 3 rows up from the start, while White's pieces have gone 4 rows up, so White has a space advantage, but maybe Ricard is just trying to get a solid position because he knows a draw is good enough, so he just wants to not take any risks and sort of just say, come and get me, Maxime, you're going to have to weaken yourself to get near me, I'm just going to play in my nice, solid, positional style here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very much a wait-and-see approach from Ricard. And there you go. You know, he's maneuvered his knight towards the center, but still, he has some weak points in his position, namely that d6 pawn. And Maxime is just playing very naturally. You know, he's going to line up his rook in the center and, again, enjoy the space. I'm just wondering whether he can take some time out and make a luxury move first, and I could, yep, there it goes, picking up the h-pawn, moving it 1 square away, taking away the g4 square from any black piece.
Yeah, White should have a small advantage here, but Black is solid. That's really how we're looking at the position. It's a bit hard when you've got a cramped position to maneuver your pieces. There's not as many squares to maneuver on, so both sides playing a bit of a waiting game. They're just trying to improve the positioning of their pieces so far. That last move, Richard wants to get his rook into the middle of the board. Your rooks are very good in the middle. Look at White's rooks, perfectly placed there in the middle of the board.
And Maxime can't help it.
No, it's a good move.
It is a great move, I know, but he can't help it because, you know, an aggressive player always wants to make aggressive moves, and he takes the space. And there you go. We have on the right side the skeleton for making an attack.
Yeah, and I like what White's doing here. That bishop maneuver, very crafty, but Black is still solid here. White's got to win this game, so he's got to play risky chess at some point, and maybe that's what Ricard is doing. Okay, you've got to get rid of this knight, surely. He does. He captures that knight, takes it off the board. So White has the 2 bishops, but White has what we call double pawns. The pawns are in the way of each other. So I don't think Black's doing that badly as of yet. It's just heating up, I'd say. We're into the middle game now, the middle part of the game, I'd say.
Definitely.
It's just about starting.
And lots of tactical opportunities in the air, and that's why Ricard actually decides to tactically strike first by putting his knight on a square that is protected 3 times over, because he's actually attacking the bishop on h4. That one is loose, my friend.
Nice move there, yeah. So tactics are jumping to life. That knight attacks the white queen, but if you take the black knight, then the bishop can be taken on the right hand side. So there's many things to think about. It's very quick and fast, the action here, and Maxime is again a bit shorter of time here, and he won't lose on time in this game. I'm going to say that now. If he does, I will commentate without my jacket on tomorrow. I was going to say elsewhere, but he won't do it twice. Don't lose on time twice, Maxime.
Well, he is struggling when it comes to the clock. I mean, now Ricard has nearly a 1 minute advantage, and that's healthy.
And here we see Ricard's idea. He takes the bishop, and another thing that's favoured Ricard now is that it's what we call opposite coloured bishops, and what that means is that any ending will probably be a draw. And look, black's got a lot of pressure in the position. He's using those dart squares, the bishop on the dart squares, wow, attacking the knight, the queen on the dart squares, wow, attacking the knight. And that's enough sound effects for a time being.
Oh, they were great, Simon. Okay, and then we see a trade of rooks, and ooh, that knight had to retreat to its starting square. And now we're in an endgame. White still has some potential pressure if the knight is allowed to jump to the c4 square. So that's why I'm expecting Richard to step forward with a d pawn. Yes, and now that knight circuit, it's controlled.
Yeah, Richard is doing so well in this game. He's getting, well, he must be nervous, realizing that it's within his grasp, the victory. A draw is good enough. Let's remember for him to go through his heart rate, 148. Maxime's heart rate, very chill guy, Maxime. And now the bishop flies into a great square. And if I was black here, I might even exchange rooks. Why not? You only need a draw. Exchange pieces off the board. If you can get rid of the knights, it's going to be a dead draw. But if anyone's better, it's black. Black has the better pawns here.
Yeah, completely agree with you. Now it's a game for the kings to come into, you know, and I mean, okay, the knight steps back, it tries to get itself on a good square, but Richard is having none of it. I mean, that bishop is completely dominating the knight. And okay, so Maxime doing some crafty things, you know, maybe he's actually going to advance with his f-pawn and ask some questions to the bishop. And there you see it on the board. And now the kings finally come into the game.
And the reason that black is a little bit better here is the pawns. If you look at the pawns, I'm not sure about that last move from Richard. It seemed to only help white. White has two pawns in the way of each other. They're like cars in a traffic jam. They sort of beep, beep, they get in the way. They need to get the car in front out the way. So black has a slight advantage, but of course there is play left. White's doing the right thing, using his king. In the end part of the game, your king is very important. Black is now using his king, moving it into the center, and white is still using those pawns. It's getting a bit more complicated. He can undouble his pawns.
And he chooses not to undouble the pawns. Interesting decision from Maxime. I was expecting a different move.
And black now saying, okay, I'm going to move my king back. I'm going for a bit of a blockading strategy here. I'm not sure I like this, as it's a little bit passive from Richard. He could have maybe kept it a little bit more active somehow, but how does white win? And let's remember, white needs to win this game in order to get an Armageddon. We're going to have lots of maneuvering coming up, and black now getting ready to use that knight to target white's pawns. White's bishop is a terrible piece. It's kind of stuck in its grave there behind the white king. You need to maneuver that bishop around. So black's still doing well here.
Yeah, I know, and I have to say, I love the way that Richard has maneuvered his knight, you know, provoking some weaknesses there on the left side of the board. And that knight is still going to carry on moving. And take a look at the clock imbalance. Richard has over 1 minute. Maxime, just 11 seconds. And okay, there we see Richard. He's a genius with the knights, you know, just dancing them around the board.
Up to 160 heart rate, which I can totally understand. And with that last move, Maxime is trying to keep the knights on the board, which is understandable. If the knights come off, they might as well shake hands and agree to a draw. And I did say Maxime won't lose on time again. Don't do it, Maxime. Not twice. Once, okay, but not twice. And black is still doing very well here. I don't see how white could ever win this position. I can't see any good plans for white here.
Well, there is a target that white can attack, and that would be the d4 pawn, which is standing alone, unsupported. And that's why Maxime is just making these sneaky moves. He's preparing to relocate the knight to attack the pawn in the middle. So Richard has to be careful. He can't be complacent here, and that's why he retreats. And here he comes, and there you go. He's able to defend that pawn with his bishop, and the trickiness continues from Maxime. There, the knight is trying its hand on the right side of the board, and well, Maxime just living the life on the edge. 7 seconds.
Yeah, Maxime trying everything he can in this position to create some chances. The white knight jumping around, trying to cause problems, but black's knight is also jumping around. And now they've repeated the position once. Remember, if you repeat 3 times, it will be a draw. And the black king trying to get active here, and the white, okay, it looks to me like if anyone's making progress, it is black. Black's piece is finding good squares. Black does have the pass pawn. Can he push the pawn now? Surely he's got to think about this move. Ricard has 27 seconds to decide. Can he push the pawn? Can he get a queen? If black can push the pawn all the way, he has. He's going for a queen. And now the bishop comes in, dominating that knight there. We call this the knight stable, this lovely position. And the white knight can't move anywhere because it'll be captured. Well, it does move somewhere, but it is captured. This is looking very, very bad for white. There's nothing to be done. It's a blockade now. I think they can agree to a draw. Even though white is a pawn up in his final position, it's a very interesting position actually. There's no way white can make progress here because all the pawns are on dark squares and white just can't attack them. He has a light square bishop. The bishop can never hit them and the white king can never get through. Well done, Ricard. Brilliant result.
I know, brilliant play, I have to say. He held his nerve and Maxime wasn't quite his day. And what a match. Richard Rapport taking it 1.5 half. Very impressive.
Brilliant play against a world champion, an ex-world champion from 2 years ago in the same time limit. So that is a really impressive victory for Ricard there, and that was a really tough game. But he played so well in both of the games. I mean, he got this tactic here, which actually gave him a slightly better position by capturing that bishop, and Maxime just kept playing moves to keep the pressure on. But at no moment did Ricard crash, even though his heart rate was getting up to like 160, 170. It never ever affected his play. He got in the zone. He really does play so well under pressure.
Yeah, he
Brilliant chess.
Certainly was very sharp today. He seemed to spot all of Maxime's tricks, and here was a moment that we thought that Maxime might undouble his pawns, but in the end it was very well calculated by Ricard, and no way that Maxime could break through.
Yeah, and they got to this position at the end, which should always be okay for black because the bishops are on opposite colours, but you've got to be careful, especially when there's so much tension on the game there. And Maxime is trying to make as many problems as he can here, but the black knight was diving into the position and causing white some issues as well. And we can see the end here. And wasn't this where the pawn came?
It was.
It was, and that was a brilliant idea. Pushing the pawn, and black was completely safe here. That pawn very dangerous, and there's nothing that Maxime could do. He had to exchange his knight off, and as soon as that knight came off, he can't attack any of black's pawns after some very careful play. So very nice play from Ricard.
It was very impressive. It felt very smooth. And we're going to go over to Sonia, who has an interview with Maxime.
We're here with Maxime. You just lost your game. How do you feel?
Yeah, I was feeling very slow today. I was really playing much slower than usual, and it cost me a lot. So yeah, I mean, I guess something went wrong from the morning, because normally I play much faster simply.
Do you have any key moments of the games?
Yeah, I think first game simply the fact that I thought for so much and couldn't find a satisfactory response. I was trying to remember what this position was about, but I couldn't, and there's no time simply, so I just went up and down, and I almost managed to save, but not enough. And second game I just blundered this simplification with knight e4, exchanging gold pieces and giving Richard a very comfortable position. So no, he played much better than me today.
Okay, maybe we think about better times. Last week, I think you just won the French competition with your team. How was it?
It was very nice, of course. It was also very tense because it all comes down to the last round, and we clinched the title, although we were not sure before the last round with a draw. Actually, all 8 games ended in a draw, and it was very, very, very tense, but a bit of a relief also because for a few years we were trying to win this title and we couldn't manage.
And how does it feel like when you win as a team and when you win just on your own, like in comparison?
Oh, it's definitely not the same. But like, of course, it's quite intense to win as a team, even though it's obviously like not a team sport in itself. It's still, but by being with your team for like 2 weeks or maybe over the years, you build a bond, and of course it gives that much more pleasure, like to win as a team and to see also your teammates being so happy.
You've been in Berlin for a couple of days. Did you see anything? What have you done?
I've walked a bit, but that's about it. I didn't see anything in particular. But like I enjoy my time also at the club every day because I think it's a very nice place.
Okay, thank you so much. You're still in the tournament and best of luck. We go back to the studio to Simon and Jovanka.
Thank you, Sonia, and it's a great pleasure to have Richard Rapport with us here in the studio, and you just defeated Maxime Vachier-Lagrave in a very exciting match. Talk us through the first game.
Oh yeah, it certainly started better than yesterday. No, I got super lucky. I feel like I've kind of misplaced it. I felt like I was doing very well. Then I missed something very stupid. I missed knight b3, yeah. Then I pretended that I didn't miss it with playing c4 instantly.
Yeah.
Which kind of worked. I mean, he kind of believed me. And then I was pawn up for nothing, and 1.5 minutes on the clock, and then sort of went back to my roots and started to give away pawns and things like that. And then at the end it was, this night end game is probably still unpleasant, but it was mainly unpleasant because he had like virtually no time, right? And he lost on time, which I was quite glad about. Yeah,
Simon couldn't believe it here in the studio.
Just a second before he lost on time, I think I said Maxime will never lose on time, and then it went 4-3-2-1. So I was very surprised because he's a brilliant speed player, so it was shocking. But a nice first game for you.
Yeah, actually it was not. Recently I almost won on time another time in a Grand Chess Tour event, but then my opponent pulled some interesting. Resources, let's put it this way. So it was
sounds a bit dubious.
Yeah, so it was a nice experience to finally win on time, in Blitz. Yeah, when I very often lose on time myself. So
yeah. And talk us through the second game where you found this amazing trick by putting the knight on e4, and then after that it looked like you were very much in control.
Yeah, actually I've lost to Maxime once like this in the classical in Bill. I think it's more than 10 years ago. It feels like around 10 years ago, maybe 9 or something, but like quite some time ago. And in the same line, with g3 and this Philidor with e4. Yeah, and I think he just played obviously very quickly because it's a Blitz game, and he missed knight e4, which after which I'm just having a 2 results game, and then I was kind of trying to maneuver the fact that draw is more than sufficient. With the fact that my position is just, extremely good, yeah. So I was kind of trying to, use this to my bargaining chip to my advantage, yeah, just to trade more pieces and to get. And even at the end, I guess I'm clearly better, but just was very glad to enter his fortress and to finish the day, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we take a look at the heart rates, you got to 171, pretty good going.
Again, yeah.
Again.
You tend to start at the 120, which is already in the danger zone.
But 171's good, but the thing is you seem to handle it so well. So even though your heart rate gets up, do you feel that helps you getting in the zone?
No, not at all. The problem is, I guess, that thanks to my very healthy lifestyle, as you can see on my heart rate, I'm quite used to this, yeah. So I'm not used to seeing it in numbers, but I'm used to feeling it inside, right? So I guess I'm accustomed to play while your body is dying, your mind still have to focus. Yeah, I'm accustomed to this, yeah. So nothing new under the sun for me, yeah.
I guess, a great win though, because Maxime must be one of the favourites in this tournament, and that means you're safely through to the next round. And
yeah, I'm very surprised. I scored 1.5 points more than expected today, so yeah, can't complain.
You're very modest. And let's have a look at the brackets and see whereabouts you are and who you're playing.
Yeah, so you'll be playing Jan-Krzysztof Duda. Presumably, well, you've played him many times before. And Jan-Krzysztof told us that normally when you two face each other, you play crazy games.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
At least when you face anyone.
Yeah, from my part, it's nothing too surprising. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's fun to play him. Of course, I would have been happier to play someone else, since I think he's first seed maybe in Blitz. I'm not quite familiar with numbers, but he's an exceptional Blitz player nonetheless. But okay, this is, I guess, my reward or punishment. We will see for winning. Yeah.
Well, you'll have a rest day tomorrow. Do you have any plans?
Well, I wasn't actually quite sure if I am having a rest day since I was not even dreaming of winning. Yeah, so I didn't look it up. But I am. Okay, this is like a double win for me, or a triple win for me. I mean, this is amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I will make plans. I guess my wife will make plans, and I will obey. Yeah. I see that. Yeah.
I won't say you're not getting in trouble.
That was just too funny.
We will make plans.
Yes. And what have you done so far in Berlin? Anything?
Yeah, a lot of walking. Yeah, a lot of walking actually. So yeah, I'm super tired actually. So like this blitz is the least cardio I'm doing here. Yeah, so a lot of walking and going from places to places. Yeah. I don't know. It's. I feel like there's still much to explore, though. So like that's the good news. But I like this. You know, we are kind of in a very central area, and I like this lively neighborhoods anyway. Like even when I'm home in Belgrade or in Bucharest, the same areas, I very much appreciate them. So yeah, I have a lot of fun in Berlin. Yeah.
And do you have any hobbies?
Like here or
just in general?
Life? Yeah, I have a few hobbies, but like I'm thinking what I should reveal. No, I just
something vanilla.
Yeah, I just like to, you know, random things. Like I like to go for walks, cinemas, movies, reading. I mean, nothing too fancy. Yeah. No sports whatsoever. You know, nothing healthy, nothing what is recommended. Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Richard, and we wish you all the best in your upcoming match.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The fan is very handy.
And time to mention our partners, IT.com Domains, the official partner of the Armageddon Championship Series, which is a domain registry like no other. It provides a platform for anyone to create innovative domains and effectively showcase their online presence. Don't miss this opportunity. Visit IT.com today and create your unique online image.
What a day of chess. Again, we're getting great days. And I have to say, a bit of a surprise there, that last match. I mean, I didn't really want to say it, but Maxime is such a brilliant blitz player. And Richard has been concentrating on being a second recently. So I thought it might be a bit of a struggle for him. But he made it look quite smooth, actually. So impressive. Yeah,
it was very impressive. And things were just working his way. I mean, he did kind of refer to something in an earlier interview where he said he had been working really hard on chess for the last year. So that has to pay off, right?
Definitely, yeah. And very impressive. And we're getting now over the halfway mark of this competition. Let's remind everyone that 2 players go through to the grand final, which is our next competition after this one. We've still got a lot to go on here, but that's going to be one special event there. And I have no idea who's going to qualify now. I just don't know. It's all to play for so far.
Judging by today's performances, I mean, I would say Jan-Krzysztof Duda has to be a favorite because he was so effective, so clinical. And Richard Rapport just to dispatch Maxime like that, very surprising, but also I'm also completely in awe of his performance.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting. And let's have a look at what you've got in store for yourself tomorrow at home. And we go now to the lower bracket, I believe. And
yes, it's going to be an elimination day, Simon.
Yes.
These players are on their last lives. They are fighting for survival. And there we see Maxime Vachier-Lagrave faces off against Alexander Donchenko, and Jorden Van Foreest will play Vincent Keymer. Oh, you know, it's a nice combination. You have the 2 technical, strategical players, Alexander Donchenko and Vincent Keymer, facing off against attacking, creative geniuses.
Very exciting. And just to remind everyone, whoever loses out of those matches goes home. So there's going to be double pressure for those players. There's a lot of money at stake here, and obviously those 2 places in the grand final. So it's it's going to be intense, and I hope you're enjoying it at home as much as we're enjoying it here. It's been great fun.
We are certainly enjoying it here. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better chess, to be honest with you. We have the perfect stories.
No, and I like hearing these stories about when Ricard comes in, he doesn't do any exercise. I saw him walking earlier. He can't say he doesn't do any exercise. He was walking in that video.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of exercise. Hopefully walking counts as exercise. Otherwise I'm in trouble.
Yes.
And but it's going to be very, very exciting. And if you're a Maxime fan, he has to take his chance tomorrow. He doesn't get much time to relax. That's the other downside of losing. You've got to get right back in to the next game, next one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's been a wild adventure today, and we've seen a lot of excitement, a lot of action, a lot of beautiful chess. And tomorrow, I think we can expect definitely more of the same, as we have 4 players fighting for their chess lives.
That's right. So we hope you'll come and join us again. We're trying to get Jovanka singing another song. That would be a real treat for you at home. So think of songs and telepathically get them over to me, and I'll pass them on to Jovanka. That's certainly one of my highlights. And just don't ask me to sing too much. But thank you, everyone, for another great day of chess. And goodbye from me, Grandmaster Simon Williams.
And goodbye from me, Jovanka Houska, and same time, same place.